In the next few minutes, you'll discover the timeless principles from how to win friends and influence people, the exact skills that can make anyone want to work with you, listen to you, and even like you. And I'm not just telling you the theory. I'll break down each chapter with a real-life example you can start using today. Don't miss a single step, because one idea here could completely change the way people respond to you. Let's get started.
Part 1. Laying the groundwork for human connection. Chapter 1. If you want to gather honey, don't kick over the beehive. Criticism rarely produces positive change. It often triggers defensiveness, resentment, and a desire to justify one's actions. People almost never see themselves as wrong, so direct attacks usually make matters worse. Instead, approach with understanding and curiosity, seeking to learn their perspective before offering guidance. For example, if a coworker forgets to include data in a report, instead of saying, "You messed this up," say, "I noticed the numbers in Section 2. Let's go through them together to make sure they match the latest updates." This turns a potential conflict into a cooperative effort. Chapter 2. The Big Secret of Dealing with People. The strongest human desire is to feel important. People respond best to genuine recognition and specific appreciation, not empty flattery. Leaders who notice and praise good work create loyalty and inspire continued effort. Look for what others do well and acknowledge it openly. When a teammate meets a tight deadline, don't just say, "Nice job." Instead, say, "I really appreciate how you handled that last-minute change. It kept us on schedule and improved the final result." This makes the praise meaningful and reinforces positive behavior. Chapter 3. He who can do this has the whole world with him. He who cannot walks a lonely way. To influence others, speak in terms of what they want, not what you want. Understand their needs, priorities, and concerns. Then connect your ideas to their benefits. This shifts the conversation from resistance to collaboration. For example, if you need a neighbor to trim a tree branch hanging over your yard, avoid saying, "That branch is bothering me." Instead, say, "That branch is close to the power lines. If we trim it now, it'll keep your yard safe and prevent outages during storms." You've made it about their gain, increasing the chance they'll agree.
Part 2. The First Steps to Being Liked. Chapter 4. Do this and you'll be welcome anywhere. People are naturally more interested in themselves than in you, so the quickest way to be liked is to become genuinely interested in others. Ask about their experiences, hobbies, and goals, and listen with real curiosity. This isn't about pretending, it's about shifting focus from yourself to them. Example, at a networking event, instead of talking about your own job, ask, "What projects are you most excited about right now?" and listen attentively. This makes the other person feel valued and appreciated. Chapter 5. A simple way to make a good impression. A sincere smile communicates warmth, openness, and approachability without words. It creates positive first impressions and encourages people to engage with you. Even if you're not feeling upbeat, a genuine smile can change both your mood and the atmosphere around you. Example, when entering a meeting, greet colleagues with a natural smile and a friendly good morning. This small gesture can set a positive tone for the entire discussion. Chapter 6. If you don't do this, you are headed for trouble. A person's name is the sweetest sound to them in any language. Remembering and using someone's name shows respect and personal attention. Forgetting it can make people feel overlooked or unimportant. Example, if you meet someone named Sarah, use her name naturally during the conversation. That's an interesting point, Sarah. Later, jot her name and a detail about her to remember for next time. This builds connection and rapport quickly.
Part 3. Conversations that build relationships. Chapter 7. An easy way to become a good conversationalist. The best conversationalists are often the best listeners. People enjoy talking about themselves, and when you show genuine interest, you create an instant bond. Ask open-ended questions and let them share their experiences without interruption. When meeting someone new, instead of talking about your own weekend, ask, "What's been the highlight of your week so far?" Then listen actively and follow up with related questions. Chapter 8. How to interest people. To capture someone's attention, talk in terms of their interests. Find out what matters to them and shape the conversation around those topics. Shared enthusiasm builds stronger connections. Example: if a coworker loves hiking, you could say, "I saw a new trail open nearby. Have you checked it out yet?" This personal touch makes the conversation engaging for them. Chapter 9. How to make people like you instantly. Making someone feel important and doing it sincerely is a powerful way to earn their goodwill. Look for genuine qualities to acknowledge and express appreciation for them. Example: if a friend organizes a gathering, you might say, "You always make these get-togethers feel so welcoming. I really appreciate the effort you put in." This builds warmth and strengthens your relationship. Part 4. Shaping opinions without conflict. Chapter 10. You can't win an argument. In most cases, an argument isn't really about truth, it's about pride. Even if you prove that you're correct, the other person is likely to walk away feeling defeated, embarrassed, or angry. That emotional reaction can cause them to cling even more tightly to their opinion and avoid future cooperation with you. Carnegie stresses that arguments are rarely won because in proving a point, you often lose something more valuable: goodwill. The smarter path is to avoid the argument altogether. This doesn't mean ignoring your own perspective. It means focusing on common ground first, then moving towards solutions. Listening patiently, asking questions, and validating parts of the other person's viewpoint lowers defenses and opens the door for constructive dialogue. Example: imagine you're on a project team, and a colleague says the delay was entirely due to budget cuts, but you know poor scheduling also played a role. Instead of replying, "That's not true, it was bad planning," you might say, "You're right, budget cuts definitely made things challenging. Let's figure out a schedule that makes the most of the resources we have." This approach acknowledges their point, keeps emotions calm, and turns the focus toward fixing the problem together. Chapter 11. A sure way of making enemies and how to avoid it. One of the fastest ways to create tension is to tell someone outright that they're wrong. Even if your information is accurate, directly challenging someone's correctness often feels like a personal attack. People are far more receptive to new ideas when they feel their dignity is preserved. Carnegie suggests replacing blunt statements with softer approaches. Phrases like, "I might be mistaken, but," or "That's interesting, my understanding was different," open space for discussion instead of clash. By showing openness to being wrong yourself, you make it easier for the other person to do the same. Example: suppose a friend confidently says a popular film was based on a true story, but you're sure it's fiction. Instead of, "You're wrong, it's made up," you could say, "That's interesting. I thought it was fiction. Let's check online together and see what it says." Now you're both seeking the answer side by side, not standing on opposite sides of an argument. The goal is to keep the exchange friendly and fact-focused, rather than ego-driven. Chapter 12. If you're wrong, admit it. Everyone makes mistakes. The difference between a respected person and one that damages relationships is how they handle those mistakes. When you're wrong,
Admitting it quickly and openly turns a potential confrontation into an opportunity to build trust. Carnegie points out that a fast, sincere admission often disarms the other person. They no longer feel the need to criticize you because you've already done it yourself. The admission should be honest and without excuses. Taking full responsibility communicates maturity and reliability. It also makes it easier for others to forgive and move on. Example: if you give a presentation at work and realize afterward you misstated an important statistic, don't hope no one noticed. At the next opportunity, say, "I realized I misstated that number in my earlier presentation. It's actually 42%, not 47%. That was my oversight, and I'm sorry for any confusion it caused." By correcting yourself promptly, you maintain credibility and show you value accuracy over saving face. Bringing it all together. These three principles, avoiding arguments, sparing people the sting of being told they're wrong, and admitting your own mistakes, are about preserving relationships while still addressing important matters. They turn potentially hostile interactions into cooperative ones. When you keep discussions solution-focused, protect the other person's pride, and own your missteps, you strengthen trust and make it more likely others will work with you again. The next time you feel the urge to win a conversation, remember, lasting influence comes not from defeating people in debate, but from making them feel respected and understood. That respect becomes the bridge that carries your ideas across to others without burning the relationship in the process. You have completed the fourth and final chapter in this summary.
Part 5. Gentle Persuasion Tactics. Chapter 13. A Drop of Honey. Carnegie reminds us that kindness and friendliness are far more persuasive than force or aggression. If you begin a conversation in a warm, non-threatening way, people are more inclined to listen and consider your point of view. An abrupt or demanding approach can cause them to shut down before you've even made your case. A smile, a soft tone, and respectful words act like a drop of honey that draws others in instead of pushing them away. This is especially effective when addressing a disagreement or request. Beginning with appreciation, or even just a calm demeanor, sets a tone that encourages cooperation rather than resistance. Example: you need your landlord to fix a leaky faucet. Instead of opening with, "You never fix anything on time," start with, "I really appreciate how quickly you helped with the heating issue last month. I've got a leaky faucet now. Do you think we could arrange to have it repaired this week?" You acknowledge their past effort, keep the tone friendly, and make them more willing to respond positively. Chapter 14. The Secret of Socrates. The ancient philosopher Socrates used a method of asking questions that encouraged agreement from the other person. Carnegie calls this getting the yes. Instead of beginning with points of disagreement, start with questions they will answer yes to. This creates a sense of partnership and makes it harder for them to oppose you later in the conversation. The key is to find common ground right away. When someone starts agreeing with you on smaller, obvious points, it becomes easier for them to agree on the bigger, more important ones. Example: if you're trying to convince your boss to invest in new software, you might begin, "Would you agree that saving time on routine tasks helps the whole team's productivity?" Yes. "And if we could reduce repetitive work, the team could focus on more valuable projects?" Yes. Only then do you introduce, "That's exactly what this software can help us do." You've guided them toward agreement step by step. Chapter 15. the safety valve in handling complaints. When people are upset, they need to express themselves before they can be receptive to solutions. Carnegie calls this letting the other person talk themselves out. If you interrupt, argue, or rush them, you only intensify their frustration. But if you listen patiently, without planning your rebuttal, you give them a chance to release their emotions and feel heard. Often, once the emotional energy has been spent, the person becomes calmer and more willing to listen. Listening without defensiveness shows respect and often transforms the tone of the entire interaction. Example: a customer calls to complain about a delayed delivery. Instead of jumping in with explanations, you say, "I understand this must be frustrating. Please tell me exactly what happened on your end so I can get the full picture." You listen without interrupting, letting them vent fully. Only after they've finished do you explain the cause and the steps you'll take to resolve it. Bringing it all together. Gentle persuasion is about lowering resistance before making your case. Start with warmth, find early agreement, and let others express themselves fully before offering your solution. These tactics keep emotions calm and make your ideas more likely to be accepted. In business, friendships, and family life, the soft approach often proves stronger than the hard push.
Part 6. Inspiring Agreement and Cooperation. Chapter 16 explains that people respond better when they feel the idea or plan is partly their own. Instead of dictating, involve others by asking for suggestions and feedback, building on their contributions, because ownership increases responsibility and cooperation. For example, when leading a group project and needing a new schedule, avoid saying, "Here's the plan, follow it." Instead, ask, "We need to adjust our schedule to meet the deadline. What do you think is the best way to approach it?" This motivates them to stick to the plan. Chapter 17 shares a powerful formula. Begin with praise and honest appreciation before addressing concerns or suggestions. This sets a cooperative tone and makes the person more receptive. For instance, if a team member needs to improve reports, start with, "Your reports are always thorough and well organized. I think if we added a quick summary at the top, it would help everyone see the key points faster." Recognizing strengths first makes suggestions easier to accept. Chapter 18 highlights that everyone wants to feel understood. Showing empathy and genuinely trying to see from another's perspective builds trust and cooperation quickly. Understanding doesn't mean agreeing, but listening and acknowledging their feelings. For example, if an employee resists the new policy, instead of dismissing concerns, say, "I get that this change feels disruptive. It's different from how you've been doing things for years. Let's go over why it's being implemented and how we can make it work more smoothly for you." This makes them feel heard and more open to solutions. Bringing it all together, gaining cooperation depends less on authority and more on involvement, appreciation, and understanding. Inviting participation in shaping solutions, starting with praise before suggestions, and sincerely seeing the world from others' perspectives help reach agreements faster and strengthen relationships, ensuring lasting cooperation. Part 7. Appeals and Creative Influence. Chapter 19. An Appeal That Everybody Likes. Carnegie notes that one of the most reliable ways to influence people is to appeal to their nobler motives. While not everyone acts on pure altruism, most people like to think of themselves as fair, honest, and kind. When you frame your request in a way that speaks to those qualities, you encourage them to live up to that higher image of themselves. The key is sincerity. False flattery or manipulation will quickly destroy trust. Example: if a supplier misses a shipment deadline, instead of saying,
"You've messed up again." You could say, "I know you take pride in keeping your promises to customers. That's one of the reasons I value working with you. I'm hoping we can find a way to get this shipment out today." This taps into their sense of integrity and reliability, motivating them to act. Chapter 20. When the movies do it, TV does it, why don't you do it? Entertainment industries have long understood the power of drama, story, and vivid imagery to hold attention. Carnegie suggests using this principle in persuasion. Present your ideas in a way that's compelling and memorable. Instead of relying only on dry facts, use real-life examples, stories, or comparisons that capture the imagination. Example: if you're pitching a marketing idea, you could say, "Imagine a customer opening the box and finding a handwritten thank you note inside. They'll feel like they discovered something special, and they'll want to share it with friends." By painting a clear picture, you help your audience visualize the benefit and feel emotionally invested. Chapter 21. When nothing else works, try this. Sometimes, logical arguments and polite requests fail to inspire action. In those cases, Carnegie suggests throwing down a friendly challenge. People often respond to competition, whether it's against others or against their own past performance. The challenge should be framed positively, as an opportunity to excel, not as pressure or criticism. Example: if sales are lagging, instead of saying, "We need to do better," you might say, "Last month, our top salesperson closed 20 deals. I think we can beat that as a team. Let's see if we can set a new record this month." This transforms the task into an exciting goal, sparking energy and engagement. Bringing it all together. Appealing to higher motives, making ideas vivid, and turning work into a challenge are all powerful persuasion tools. They inspire action by connecting with pride, imagination, and the natural human drive to achieve. When used sincerely, these methods can shift a reluctant maybe into an enthusiastic yes.
Part 8. Leading without offending. Chapter 22. If you must find fault, this is the way to begin. When you have to point out a mistake, starting with a compliment softens the impact and keeps the other person from becoming defensive. Carnegie explains that beginning with genuine praise shows you recognize the person's value, making them more open to hearing feedback. This is not about sugarcoating, but about framing the conversation so it encourages improvement instead of resentment. For example, if a teammate made errors in a presentation, you could say, "Your slides were very engaging and the visuals really helped get the point across. I think if we double-check the data in section 3, it'll make the whole presentation even stronger." The praise keeps the focus on improvement, not failure. Chapter 23. How to criticize and not be hated for it. Criticism is best delivered indirectly. Carnegie suggests slipping suggestions for change into a broader conversation or talking about the desired outcome without heavily emphasizing what went wrong. When criticism is subtle and wrapped in encouragement, people are more likely to accept it without bitterness. For example, if an employee is often late, instead of saying, "You're always late," you could say, "Our meetings work best when everyone's here right on time. I'd love to have your input from the start next time." This communicates the need for change without harshness. Chapter 24. A talk about your own mistakes first. Admitting your own errors before pointing out someone else's can make your feedback feel less like an attack and more like a shared human experience. By showing vulnerability, you lower defenses and create an atmosphere of cooperation. For example, if a junior team member mishandles a client email, you might say, "I remember early in my career I once sent a reply without double-checking the details. It caused a lot of confusion. I noticed in this email there was a small error. Maybe we can review it together before sending the next one." They'll be more willing to accept correction because you've shown you've made mistakes too. Bringing it all together. Effective leadership isn't about avoiding criticism. It's about delivering it in a way that preserves dignity and motivates change. By starting with praise, Offering feedback indirectly and sharing your own missteps first, you can correct mistakes without damaging relationships. These techniques make people want to improve, not just comply.
Chapter 25. No one likes to take orders. People resist being told exactly what to do, especially if it feels like a command. Carnegie advises turning orders into suggestions or questions, allowing the other person to maintain a sense of control. This approach fosters cooperation rather than compliance, and people are more willing to follow through when they feel their judgment is respected. For example, instead of saying to a coworker, "Send that report by 3 p.m., you could say, "Do you think we could have that report ready by 3 p.m. so we can review it together?" It's the same request, but it invites agreement rather than forcing it. Chapter 26. Let the other person save face. Embarrassing someone, especially in public, can cause lasting damage to a relationship. When someone makes a mistake, Carnegie urges us to handle it discreetly and tactfully, giving them the opportunity to preserve their dignity. Protecting their pride not only maintains respect, but also keeps the door open for future collaboration. For example, if an employee forgets to prepare a key document for a meeting, instead of saying in front of everyone, "You forgot the file," you could quietly say afterward, "It happens to all of us. Let's make a quick checklist together so we're both ready next time." This corrects the issue without humiliation. Chapter 27. How to spur people on to success. Recognizing and celebrating progress encourages people to achieve more. Carnegie emphasizes giving praise for improvements, no matter how small, to build momentum and confidence. People often rise to meet the expectations you set for them. For example, if a student's grades improve from a D to a C, instead of focusing on the gap to an A, you might say, "You've made a great improvement from last time. I can see the extra effort you're putting in. It's paying off." This recognition motivates them to keep going. Bringing it all together. Guiding others toward success is about influence without force, preserving dignity, and fueling motivation. When you replace orders with suggestions, allow people to save face, and recognize even small wins, you create an environment where people want to give their best and feel proud doing it.
Part 10. Lasting Impressions and Lasting Influence. Chapter 28. Give a dog a good name. When you give someone a reputation to live up to, one that highlights positive traits, they will often strive to meet it. Carnegie explains that by speaking to people as if they already possess the quality you want them to demonstrate, you inspire them to act in alignment with that image. This method works because it appeals to pride and self-image. For example, if a colleague tends to be disorganized, but you need them to handle an important project, you could say, "You've always been great at keeping track of details. This project will benefit from that skill." Now they feel motivated to live up to the description you've given them. Chapter 29. Make the fault seem easy to correct. When you present a problem as difficult or overwhelming, people may feel discouraged before they even start. Carnegie advises framing mistakes as small and easily fixable, which boosts confidence and encourages action. This removes the fear of failure and turns the challenge into something manageable. For example, if someone is struggling with a new software tool, instead of saying, "It's complicated, you'll need a lot of practice," say, "Once you get the hang of these 2 shortcuts, the rest will be a breeze." This gives them the belief they can succeed quickly. Chapter 30. Making people glad to do what you want. The ultimate goal of influence is to have people feel happy about taking the action you suggest. Carnegie advises framing requests in a way that makes the other person see the personal benefit, take pride in the task, and enjoy the process.
This often involves showing genuine appreciation for their help and giving them a sense of ownership in the outcome. For example, if you need a friend to help you move, instead of saying, "I need you to lift boxes all day," you might say, "You're the only person I trust to help me organize my stuff so it's packed right. I'll get the pizza and drinks." Now the request feels personal, appreciated, and even enjoyable. Bringing it all together. Lasting influence is built on how people feel when they work with you. By giving others a positive reputation to uphold, making challenges seem easy to overcome, and framing requests so they feel valued and motivated, you leave a strong and lasting impression. These techniques ensure that your influence not only works in the moment, but also strengthens relationships for the future.
Thanks for watching. Now that you've got these powerful tools to connect, communicate, and build lasting relationships, it's time to put them into action. Remember, winning friends isn't just about techniques, it's about genuine care and understanding. Keep practicing, stay authentic, and watch your influence grow every day. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell so you never miss a tip. And stay tuned for the next video where we'll dive even deeper with real-life examples to help you master the art of connection. See you there.